For most creatures, finding a mate is a top priority, up there with getting a good meal. But the common rain frog has a funny shape that makes mating season a bit awkward, and that shape is round. How can a pair of balloons come together to make smaller balloons? How can you hold your loved ones tight when you've got tiny little arms? Sometimes sticking together is the best strategy in life, death, and taxonomy. Welcome back to Life, Death, and Taxonomy. It's your 30 minutes of interesting animal information. I'm Joe.
And I'm Carlos.
Thank you to Cassie for the creation of our theme song. To hear more of Cassie's music, please search Cassie Michelle on YouTube or Spotify.
And thank you to Johanna for the creation of this week's artwork. To check that out, you can visit us at our home on the web at ldtaxonomy.com. And a very special thank you to our patrons, to Tristan Taylor, Jesse Raspulich, Carol Raspulich, and Richard Kaspar. Thank you so much for your support. It's greatly appreciated. Thanks for helping us keep the lights on.
And today we're talking about a frog that sticks to its plans, but more on that later.
Sticks to its plans. Yes, Plan A. Not Plan B. Yeah, we're talking about the common rain frog.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's just so... and it's not... I mean, it deals with the rainy season and stuff, but this is just not... Its behavior and its look is just not what I would call a rain frog. It's not wet enough. You have to be wetter to be a rain frog, in my opinion.
If you don't know what this guy looks like, you have seen him before. He is an internet famous frog.
Really? I had not seen him before.
This grumpy little...
Yeah.
Koosh ball.
Angry stress ball is what I wrote down here. But it's called the common rain frog, but it's also known as the Bushveld rain frog, which I imagine is Afrikaans. Sounds Dutch. And but we're gonna call it here Toto Baggins because it's sticky. And what is it? But let's taxonomize this before we get any further. It's in the kingdom you know, love, and are in. That kingdom is Animalia. Phylum, Chordata. Class, Amphibia. It's a frog. And since it's a frog, a true frog, that order is Anura. That's Plan A. A for Anura. The family is Brevicipidae. The genus is Breviceps, and the species is Adspersus. Adspersus, I think is good.
Mm-hmm.
So the binomial nomenclature is Breviceps adspersus. That sounds like a Sean Connery thing, like adspersus. But since we're in the business of naming things, it's time for my favorite part of the show, and because you chose another frog, nitty-gritty nomenclature. Because we already know a group of frogs is called an army. So we're going with the nitty-gritty nomenclature. What does the binomial nomenclature mean in English? What does Breviceps adspersus mean in English? Does it mean, Joe, A, scattered short head, B, rubber mouth spear, C, repeating small nerves, or D, stout-legged sand dweller?
What was the first one?
Scattered short head.
Scattered short head, final answer.
Ding, 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 you're correct.
The most non sequitur one is that the right way to say that? The one that didn't seem like It was too out there for you to have made it up.
What about repeating small nerves? I thought you'd get it. I thought I'd get you with that.
Small nerves
sure.
is what's small nerves?
I know it doesn't make any sense.
Is that even a word?
Small nerves.
Nerves. Okay. Yeah.
Like
No.
I didn't know if you would like with breviceps think of like cordyceps. So like maybe like a nervous system thing, and
I thought nothing at all.
brev obviously means short. So small, something like that, and then but yeah, really it means seps is actually head. So breviceps means a short head, and then adspersus means scattered.
A scattered short head.
Good on ya. I mean, I don't know if scattered is what I would describe it as, but definitely short head.
Maybe it's like doesn't think really clearly. It's very scatterbrained.
It just seems like it's got a one-track mind. From what I can tell. Let's talk about what this guy looks like. This is like we mentioned, it's an angry stress ball. It's got a round ball-like body, so just like a sphere with a face on it. It has thick, short, stumpy legs, mottled brown patterns on its back, and these large outward-facing eyes that stick up and out the top of its head. So, like, other frogs have this as well, but if you're thinking of just a classic frog, you're probably thinking of a frog that has eyes that are more set inside of the skull. This is not the case. It is like sitting on top of its head. And they're looking in opposite directions. And they have that classic slit pupil with yellowish eyes. And it has decisive and very disappointed frown that just makes this a permanent curmudgeon. And Grammarly taught me how to spell curmudgeon today. Which I had never even seen written before. So yeah, I mean, there really isn't that much else to say about what it looks like. If you're picturing a balloon with an angry frog face and eyeballs sticking on top of it, and just a couple stumpy legs sticking out, you've got it. As long as you remember that it's frowning like Grumpy Cat. I guess that's why it's internet famous. Anything in the animal kingdom that frowns instantly becomes internet famous. Did I ever mention that I once worked at the Minnesota State Fair when Grumpy Cat had sold out the stadium? Lincoln Park didn't sell out the stadium the next day, but Grumpy Cat did.
Why? What could it do?
I have no idea what happened at that show because I was working the whole time, and it was but I could hear the cheers and stuff, and we all just sat around like, what is happening? What is happening?
Marketing to children is a powerful thing. You wouldn't think so, but it is. Maybe a little unethical, but it's powerful.
Can you imagine what that cat did?
It did nothing, is what it did.
You think they just got like 15,000 people into this stadium and brought the cat out onto like a table, and it just fell asleep like or something? I
saw there's like an interview with it, and it breathes really funny because it's all messed up. Well, it's dead now, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, I think it died.
But it was all messed up genetically and couldn't breathe really well. So it was really funny to have this like
abomination,
wretched creature on a couch during an interview, just like heavy breathing.
This homunculus asking you to kill it.
Do you want to know how big it is?
Yeah.
Okay. Welcome to the Beloved Measure Up segment, the official listener's favorite part of the show, the part of the show when we present the animal size and dimensions in relatable terms through a quiz that's fun for the whole family. It's also part of the show that's introduced by you when you send in audio of yourself saying, singing, or chittering the words measure up into ldtaxonomy@gmail.com. We don't have a new measure up intro this week. The age of Melissa is over.
The time of the orc has come.
The time of listening to something else has come. So you're not going to have to guess anything. I think this time we're going to be introduced by the common rain frog himself. Oh. So here's the sound of a desert rain frog when it is upset. This is the angriest sound it can muster. So without further ado, the listener's favorite part of the show. That's why this video is why it's internet famous. I'm pretty sure.
Oh, I see. This is like my little Toyota Yaris. When I honk, if I ever honk its horn, it's like meep. Like it's such a pathetic horn, and with all of the grump that this frog can muster, and that's the sound it makes.
Yeah.
That's hilarious.
It looks and sounds like a chew toy. Well, thank you to the common rain frog for setting in that measure up. I'm sure it knew about it. And it was aware.
Sure, one of them is.
That it would be a viral sensation. Let's talk length. They're between 1.5 to 2.25 inches long, or 3 to 6 centimeters. How many rain frogs go into the length of Beelzebufo? Beelzebufo.
Demon frog.
Here's a hint. Beelzebufo is perhaps the largest frog to ever exist, and is also called the devil frog for its horn-like eye ridges.
Isn't Beelzebul not the devil? Isn't it like a
demon?
The name of a demon, or like a Molech, like a god, a Canaanite god or something like that?
A Molech ball.
No, Molech. It's the child sacrificing. Oh wait, yeah, Molech. Or see, what you just said sounded like it came from the Elder Scrolls Oblivion. So.
I did say Molech ball is a Dremora or whatever.
Yeah,
it is.
But there's also Baal. There's Molech and there's Baal, and I don't know. I'm not well versed on my Eldritch Canaanite ancient child sacrificing deities, but I think there's some truth in that. Don't quote me.
This particular frog is extinct, but it might have been the biggest ever.
Oh, it's extinct. So wow, that changes things. So I was like, oh, the biggest frog that somebody took a Instagram picture of, it's probably like not super big, but now it's like, oh, we're talking about megafauna.
She was great in Transformers.
Was she?
Well, as much as anyone was great in Transformers.
I would come up with a joke, but I really don't remember anything that happens in the Transformers movies. I was gonna say my favorite character was darn it, I don't
the Cube.
Yeah, my favorite character was the MacGuffin. All right, so the length of this frog, this devil frog.
Yeah.
I don't know. I guess I'll say it's the size of my standing desk here. If we're talking about like prehistoric megafauna. So we're dealing with about 3 feet. We'll call it 2.5 feet. I could call it 2.25 feet, and just say, no, that's not going to work. Because imperial measurements don't go by tens. I can't do quick math. Okay, we'll go by, let's say 2.5 feet. Or 2 feet 6 inches. So I'll say 13. That sounds like it can't be the case. 2 point, yeah. Yeah, no.
13 rain frogs? Final answer?
It's got, yeah. Yeah, that's, the math checks out. And I mean, this frog's got to be huge. If it jumped on you, you'd probably die. So, yeah.
That's the final answer?
Yep.
The correct answer is 6.7 rain frogs.
Oh.
Frogs are little. Even big frogs aren't that big. Some studies suggest the frog could have grown to 16 inches long and weighed 10 pounds.
See, I was picturing like Peter Jackson's Skull Island kind of frog.
No. In fact, more modern studies put the estimates at around 9 inches, which is pretty much the size of a modern day African bullfrog.
Yeah, those things are pretty big. So I had an instinct like, oh, maybe I should just go with like the size of a laptop, which I'm looking at right now, and just go with that because that would be a massive frog. Mm-hmm. But it's not like a prehistoric massive frog where it's like, oh, this is a sloth that was 14 feet tall. But alas,
it turns out like there's no reason to get really huge as a frog. You're doing pretty well if you're little. Let's talk burrow depth. Their burrows can be 20 inches deep, which I assume is part of the reason why they're called the rain frog, because 20 inches deep, that's about the depth of like when it rains a lot, that'll get flooded out. So pretty quickly. And you probably see a lot of these guys coming out during the rain, like worms.
Cute worms. Or grumpy worms.
Grumpy little worms. But how many burrow depths go into the depth of the beach burrow a Virginia man died in when it collapsed in 2014? Beach burrow being a hole you dig at the beach.
Oh. Beach burrow sounds like a neighborhood name.
It does.
But like beach, the tree. Like this is oak leaf. This is beech burrow. This is maple ridge. That kind of stuff.
Yeah. Beach burrow. Here's a hint. The man was attempting to tunnel between two holes when his tunnel collapsed, burying him alive. Turns out people have died in simpler but similar ways. In even simpler sand holes on the beach. Like, you don't have to try to like tunnel between two holes to be in a dangerous spot if you dig too deep. Digging deep holes at the beach is fun until the tide comes in or the sand wall collapses. Holes on the beach can also hinder emergency vehicles, trap sea turtles seeking the sea, and twist ankles. Remember, kids, don't dig deeper than your shortest friend is tall. Always fill in holes before you leave.
And that's a message from Sandy the sea turtle.
Yeah.
Only you can prevent beach holes.
I couldn't find a recommended depth for a hole. But I did find everyone was like, you just fill it in before you leave. I think you shouldn't dig deeper than you should be able to see out of the hole.
I remember
when you're
as a kid desperately wanting to make like a massive excavation hole and never actually being able to do it because either the sand was too silky and so would just pour in at a certain point, or you were too close to the water and it was too muddy. So they're like, I don't know, maybe just Pompano Beach just didn't have the right kind of packing sand. But I remember just like every time I went to the beach, I had this goal to just like to dig super deep, and it never ended up happening. Also, at a certain
Me
point,
too.
you dig to the point where you reach water, and then the water just starts filling up the hole. So then you're just standing knee deep, and you can't dig anymore. So I was prevented from causing any of these terrible incidents. But man, the idea of tunneling from one hole to another under the sand without some sort of breathing apparatus is on my nope list. No. That's the worst kind of spelunking. It's not even cool. It's the most dangerous, and it's not cool. All right. The length of this tunnel?
No, the depth. How
Oh.
deep was it?
Well, in order to collapse to the point where he couldn't get out, probably need more than a couple feet of sand over him. We'll just call it we'll call it an even but also appropriate but also macabre 6 feet. 6 feet under. 3.6.
3.6 rain frogs?
Rain frog depth.
Final answer?
Yes.
You got 100%. 3.6 rain frog burrows. This deadly tunnel was 6 feet deep. This man buried himself 6 feet under.
Oh my gosh, that was not anticipating that. I mean, I guess I was hoping for it secretly. I mean,
imagine being 6
That
feet
sounds
deep
terrible.
and knowingly trying to tunnel and having 6 feet of sand above your head and not thinking, I shouldn't do this.
Yeah, that's
Not to besmirch the dead. Beach
it was not a
smash.
not a wise choice.
Not a wise choice. You know, maybe not his finest hour. Maybe he was having too good a time, didn't think about it through, and it cost him.
Like even
But
tunnels
let
that are made out
his-
of rock, you know, the hard stuff, need to be reinforced.
Yeah, I'm assuming it's not. This tunnel wasn't like 20 miles long. I think the holes were probably right next to each other, but still. But like, there's been similar stories where they're just digging down in like a 6-foot tunnel or a 6-foot hole, no tunnels at all, and the walls just come down and bury them. Don't do it.
Yeah.
Let their sacrifice be a lesson to you.
Nope, that is a primal fear of mine, being buried alive. So don't worry about me. I'll do my I'm gonna do my part in not burying myself alive. I've never actually been buried in the sand like up to my neck like that. I don't think I could handle it.
Yeah, like long ways, like vertically.
Like to the point where I need somebody to dig me out. I can't move my arms. Like as soon as
Oh,
I got
yeah.
to that point, I like wriggled free. I was like, nope, this isn't for me. I don't want it.
I saw a video of like a woman who had been buried vertically, and she was okay. Nothing bad, nothing horrendous happens to her. But like there gets to be a point where like they're all laughing and having a great time, and she's laughing, and then she's getting a little like annoyed, and then she starts to panic because she can't move and she can't get herself out. So like just the claustrophobia of it, like she's freaking out, and they're still like, you know, she's struggling. Let's have some Schadenfreude. And she's like, no, get me out now. And she's like crying. It's like, no, yeah. I mean, this is a low stakes scenario because there's a ton of people around to help her. And like, it looks horrifying.
Yeah, just not being able to move, not being able to leave when you want to. That's what matters. I would feel claustrophobic in a like a basketball gymnasium if I knew I couldn't leave Like if I knew it was like shuttered shut. It doesn't. It's not the size of it, and I would feel fine in a cardboard box. Like a 6-foot cardboard box, I'd be fine in because I know I can punch my way out. But like, it's all about, can I leave if I really, really wanted to?
Yeah. What about the Earth? You can't leave the Earth.
That's true, but I'm not enclosed in the Earth. I'm stuck to it.
So the wide open sky is a comforting blue.
Sure, that sounds like a song lyric.
Do you have any fast facts before we get into the major fact?
I do. So the rain frog lives in, or the common rain frog at least, lives in southern Africa, mostly outside of the Kalahari Desert, which is the desert located down there. The countries include Botswana, Zimbabwe, Zambia. I wrote Sambia. I must have been thinking of sand. I don't know. Mozambique, Angola, Namibia, South Africa.
Sand Africa.
Sand Africa, yeah. A Mason can identify Mozambique on a map now.
Wow.
Because we read a book to him about animals from Mozambique. So yeah, they live in the forests and open grasslands of southern Africa, but not in the desert part. They have short, stubby legs, so they don't hop as much as they walk and crawl around. They spend most of their time 20 inches underground in their burrows, and if they're threatened, they'll just inflate like a pufferfish and lodge themselves in the burrows, so they're more difficult to remove. And when they hunt, they'll actually scoop up. I didn't mention their diet. They eat insects and termites, caterpillars, things that come into their burrow and around them. But to hunt them, they'll actually scoop them up and bop them on the head, bop those critters on the head, like
Macy mice,
like little bunny frou frou. Little bunny frou frou is like shops at designer stores. But yeah, they do this thing called dapping. No, not dabbing, you disgusting millennials. Dapping.
What about dapping like a fist bump?
Kind of. It's punching something. It is like it's when it's a hunting technique where where an animal will stun its prey by hitting it, and then will eat at its leisure rather than just trying to catch it with its tongue. It'll hit it first, which is weird because its tongue it's got a frog's tongue. It's fast, probably faster than its hands and stuff. But when you're in the tunnels, it's a little different. I would know. It also skips the tadpole stage. So most frogs lay their eggs either in water or just above water, so that when the eggs hatch, purely aquatic tadpoles will come out, swim around, and then grow legs, and the metamorphosis of frog life begins. And then they leave the water when they become froglets. But these guys hatch as froglets because they do not hatch in the water. So that's interesting. The froglet completely skips the tadpole stage. Straight to Poliwrath, or Poliwhirl. None of this Poliwag nonsense. Stats are terrible. And that's all I got.
Okie dokie. Let's talk about the major fact, which I'm calling stuck like glue. Frog females are sometimes bigger than frog males, but they still like to be the little spoon. When frogs mate, the males latch onto the backs of the females in order to avoid just rolling away in the heat of passion. But the rain frog females have bodies that the typical spooning procedure it makes it a bit more difficult. Why? Because they're round. And not just round like a lot of frogs are round, but round like an actual balloon is round. Actually, a sphere sometimes. Males, though smaller, are fairly round themselves with short, stubby legs, and they just can't reach far enough to get any leverage on their rotund frog wives. The the short, stubby legs also makes their dapping even weirder. Like they don't even have a good pair of legs to punch anything compared to other frogs.
Yeah.
So anyway, instead they adhere to a different principle during copulation. They glue themselves together. The pair both excrete glue. So according to researchers in Japan, males secrete a sticky substance from their chest and arms, while females secrete the same goo glue on their backs. The bond is about as strong as a good piece of Velcro, and it only starts to lose its adhesive. It only starts to lose its adhesive power after a few days. So once they're stuck together, it's like 3 days of being stuck together, with the power of Velcro. So you could go in there and like separate them, but they wouldn't appreciate that.
What glue has joined together, let no frog separate.
In some cases, frogs can stay stuck together for months during the egg-laying season.
That's a commitment. I mean, that's impressive. That's an impressive commitment from a frog.
And researchers have to stay up all night because they're nocturnal. They do this in the middle of the night. Researchers found in some cases, males will glue themselves to other non-rain frog frogs. Like they get confused, I guess, and glue themselves to a random other frog. And it doesn't, I don't think it works out for them. But they're stuck for 3 days to another frog, which is funny to me.
Glued,
That's
where's my
gotta
frog?
be a massive disappointment if you're just hopping around and somebody glues themselves to you, and now you're and they're like, "Oh, my mistake, didn't mean to," and then great, now we're like this for 3 days.
Great. So where do you live? Were you having breakfast tomorrow? What are we having? Huh?
And I'm pretty sure that male frogs are passive in the locomotion department during this situation, considering their size difference. So they're not going to help with much of anything once they're back there.
You're just walking around and like some guy just Velcros himself as a some little guy Velcros himself as a backpack to you. And you're just Luke and Yoda for the next three days, potentially a month.
The Japanese researcher, joked that if there was a human application for this adhesive, it could be for sticky notes for tasks that need to be done within 3 days.
It's a sticky note that only lasts for 3 days. That's a specific use case if I've ever seen one.
Yes.
Like, I want to stick this to the refrigerator, but not all week.
It's Monday. I was going to say Monday, Thursday. Yeah, it's Thursday, and I'm trying to know when I need to say he is risen. So let me just stick this to the refrigerator.
I want to stick this sticky note to the refrigerator, but I want it on the floor by Wednesday.
Yeah, it's not even a great sticky note because when the time is up, the sticky note removes itself. So you no longer are reminded.
Yeah, so it's like if your least favorite thing on earth is removing sticky notes that you've put up, you have no problem putting them up, but removing them?
Yeah.
forget about it. This is definitely the adhesive material for you.
Like, it's for tasks that no longer matter after 3 days. So you put a little trash can underneath your sticky note board, and then it's just like it like archives itself. It's like a Monday.com board that archives after a certain amount of time.
Hey, you gotta keep your workspace clean. And
It's true.
And this one keeps itself clean with frog glue.
But that's all I got.
All right, that was the common rain frog. Yet another frog. We love frogs here in Life, Death, and Taxonomy.
They're little weirdos.
In fact, when we first built the website, our banner was a frog with a butterfly in its nose. Very cute.
If you are not driving, look up a picture of this guy. It looks so funny.
Yeah, I'm looking at lots of pictures of this guy, and it's really like if a balloon pufferfish became a frog.
Was disappointed in you.
It is perpetually disappointed. For you out there in Podcastia, lodge yourself in your tunnels, dap some slimy and satisfying bugs, and stick to your spouse through thick and thin, like the rain frog here in Life, Death, and Taxonomy.
Hey Taxonomy Titans, I just want to remind you that we now have a Patreon. Patrons can see full video episodes and get shoutouts on the show. But ultimately, it's a way for you to help us cover some costs and get even better. Still, reviews are the best way to help us grow. So if you haven't left one yet, we'd really love to hear from you. As always, thanks for listening and engaging.
Life, Death, and Taxonomy is my favorite in the world podcast.
That was some, the end was good advice. The beginning was kind of the exact advice we said
Not to do.
not to do in the sand part. Don't lodge yourself in any tunnels.